Hello, everybody. This is Kim, and we are at Genesis 6. Thanks for joining me for this read. Now, a population explosion took place upon the earth. It was at this time that beings from the spirit world looked upon the beautiful earth women and took any they desired to be their wives. Then Jehovah said, My spirit must not forever be disgraced in man. Wholly evil as he is, I will give him 120 years to mend his ways. In those days, and even afterwards, when the evil beings from the spirit world were sexually involved with human women, their children became giants of whom so many legends are told. When the Lord God saw the extent of human wickedness, and that the trend and direction of men's lives were only towards evil, he was sorry he had made them. It broke his heart. And he said, I will blot out from the face of the earth all mankind that I created, yes, and the animals too, and the reptiles and the birds, for I am sorry I made them. But Noah was a pleasure to the Lord. He is the story of Noah. He was the only true righteous man living on the earth at that time. He tried always to conduct his affairs according to God's will, and he had three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Meanwhile, the crime rate was rising rapidly across the earth, and as seen by God, the world was rotten to the core. And God observed how bad it was, and saw that all mankind was vicious and depraved. He said to Noah, I have decided to destroy all mankind, for the earth is filled with crime because of man. Yes, I will destroy mankind from the earth. Make a boat from resinous wood, sealing it with tar, and construct decks and stalls throughout the ship. Make it 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. Construct a skylight all the way around the ship, 18 inches below the roof, and make 3 decks inside the boat, a bottom, middle, and upper deck, and put a door in the side. Look, I am going to cover the earth with a flood and destroy every living being, everything in which there is breath of life. All will die. But I promise to keep you safe in the ship, with your wife and your sons and their wives. Bring a pair of every animal, a male and a female, into the boat with you, to keep them alive through the flood. Bring in a pair of each kind of bird, an animal and reptile. Store away in the boat all the food that they and you will need. And Noah did everything as God commanded him. Finally, the day came when the Lord said to Noah, Go into the boat with all your family, for among all the people of the earth I consider you alone to be righteous. Bring in the animals too, a pair of each, except those kinds I have chosen for eating and for sacrifice. Take 7 pairs of each of them, and 7 pairs of every kind of bird. Thus there will be every kind of life reproducing again after the flood has ended. 1 week from today, I will begin 40 days and 40 nights of rain, and all the animals and birds and reptiles I have made will die. So Noah did everything the Lord commanded him. He was 600 years old when the flood came. He boarded the boat with his wife and sons and their wives to escape the flood. With him were all the various kinds of animals, those for eating and sacrifice and those that were not, and the birds and reptiles. They came into the boat in pairs, male and female, just as God commanded Noah. 1 week later, when Noah was 600 years, 2 months, and 17 days old, the rain came down in mighty torrents from the sky, and the subterranean waters burst forth upon the earth for 40 days and nights. But Noah had gone into the boat that very day with his wife and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives. With them in the boat were pairs of every kind of animal, domestic and wild, and reptiles and birds of every sort. 2 by 2 they came, male and female, just as God had commanded. Then the Lord God closed the door and shut them in. For 40 days the roaring floods prevailed, covering the ground and lifting the boat high above the earth. As the water rose higher and higher above the ground, the boat floated safely upon it, until finally the water covered all the high mountains under the whole heaven. standing 22 feet and more above the highest peaks, and all living things upon the earth perished, birds, domestic and wild animals, and reptiles, and all mankind, everything that breathed and lived upon dry land. All existence on the earth was blotted out, man and animals alike, and reptiles and birds. God destroyed them all, leaving only Noah alive, and those with him in the boat, and the water covered the earth 150 days. God didn't forget about Noah and all the animals in the boat. He sent a wind to blow across the waters, and the floods began to disappear, for the subterranean water sources ceased their gushing, and the torrential rains subsided. So the flood gradually receded until 150 days after it began. The boat came to rest upon the mountains of Ararat. 3 months later, as the waters continued to go down, other mountain peaks appeared. After another 40 days, Noah opened a porthole and released a raven that flew back and forth until the earth was dry. Meanwhile, he sent out a dove to see if it could find dry ground, but the dove found no place to light and returned to Noah, for the water was still too high. So Noah held out his hand and drew the dove back into the boat. 7 days later, Noah released the dove again, and this time, towards evening, the bird returned to him with an olive leaf in her beak. So Noah knew that the water was almost gone. A week later, he released the dove again, and this time she didn't come back. 29 days after that, Noah opened the door to look, and the water was gone. 8 more weeks went by. Then at last the earth was dry. Then God told Noah, "You may all go out. Release all the animals, birds, and reptiles so that they will breed abundantly and reproduce in great numbers." So the boat was soon empty. Noah, his wife, and his sons and their wives all disembarked, along with all the animals, reptiles, and birds. All left the ark in pairs and groups. Then Noah built an altar and sacrificed on it some of the animals and birds that God had designated for that purpose. And Jehovah was pleased with the sacrifice, and said to himself, "I will never do it again. I will never again curse the earth, destroying all living things, even though man's bent is always toward evil from his earliest youth, and even though he does such wicked things. As long as the earth remains, there will be springtime and harvest, cold and heat, winter and summer, day and night." God blessed Noah and his sons and told them to have many children and to repopulate the earth. "All wild animals and birds and fish will be afraid of you," God told him, "for I have placed them in your power, and they are yours to use for food in addition to grain and vegetables. But never eat animals unless their life blood has been drained off. And murder is forbidden. Man killing animals must die, and any man who murders shall be killed. For to kill a man is to kill one made like God. Yes, have many children and repopulate the earth and subdue it." Then God told Noah and his sons, "I solemnly promise you and your children, and the animals you brought with you, all these birds and cattle and wild animals, that I will never again send another flood to destroy the earth. And I seal this promise with this sign: I have placed my rainbow in the clouds as a sign of my promise until the end of time, to you and to all the earth. When I send clouds over the earth, the rainbow will be seen in the clouds, and I will remember my promise to you and to every being, that never again will the floods come and destroy all life. For I will see the rainbow in the cloud and remember my eternal promise to every living being on the earth." The names of Noah's 3 sons were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham is the ancestor of the Canaanites. From these 3 sons of Noah came all the nations of the earth. Noah became a farmer and planted a vineyard, and he made wine. One day, as he was drunk and lay naked in his tent, Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father's nakedness, and went outside and told his two brothers. Then Shem and Japheth took a robe and held it over their shoulder, and walking backwards into the tent, let it fall across their father, to cover his nakedness, as they looked the other way. When Noah awoke from his drunken stupor and learned what had happened, and what Ham his younger son had done, he cursed Ham's descendants. I curse upon the Canaanites, he swore, may they be the lowest of slaves. To the descendants of Shem and Japheth, then he said, God bless Shem, and may Canaan be his slave. God bless Japheth, and let him share the prosperity of Shem, and let Canaan be his slave. Noah lived another 350 years after the flood and was 950 years old at his death. These are the families of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, who were the three sons of Noah, for sons were born to them after the flood. The sons of Japheth were Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, Tiras. The sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Shippath, Togarmah. The sons of Javan, Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, Dodanim. Their descendants became the maritime nations in various lands, each with a separate language. The sons of Ham were Cush, Mizraim, Put, Canaan. The sons of Cush were Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Ramah, Sabteka. The sons of Ramah were Sheba, Dedan. One of the descendants of Cush was Nimrod, who became the first of the kings. He was a mighty hunter, blessed of God, and his name became proverbial. People would speak of someone as being like Nimrod, a mighty hunter, blessed of God. The heart of his empire included Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. From there he extended his reign to Assyria. He built Nineveh, Reboth, Ir, Calah, and Resen, which is located between Nineveh and Calah, the main city of the empire. Mizraim was the ancestor of the people inhabiting these areas. Ludim, Anamim, Lehabim, Naphtahim, Pathrasim, Casluhim, from whom came the Philistines, and Caphtorim. Canaan's oldest son was Sidon, and he was also the father of Heth. From Canaan descended these nations: Jebusites, Amorites, Girgashites, Hivites, Arkites, Sinites, Arvadites, Zemarites, Hamathites. Eventually the descendants of Canaan spread from Sidon all the way to Gerar in the Gaza Strip, and to Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Seboim near Lasha. These then were the descendants of Ham, spread abroad in many lands and nations with many languages. Eber descended from Shem, the oldest brother of Japheth. Here is a list of Shem's other descendants. Elam, Asher, Arpachshad, Lud, Aram. Aram's sons were Uz, Hul, Gether, Mash. Arpachshad's son was Shelah, and Shelah's son was Eber. Two sons were born to Eber, Peleg, meaning division, for during his lifetime the people of the world were separated and dispersed, and Joktan, Peleg's brother. Joktan was the father of Almodad, Shalef, Hazarmaveth, Jerah, Hadaram, Uzal, Diklah, Hobal, Abimael, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, Jobab. These descendants of Joktan lived all the way from Mesha to the eastern hills of Sephar. These then were the descendants of Shem, classified according to their political groupings, languages, and geographical locations. All of the men listed above descended from Noah through many generations, living in the various nations that developed after the flood. At the time, all mankind spoke a single language. As the population grew and spread eastward, a plain was discovered in the land of Babylon and was soon thickly populated. The people who lived there began to talk about building a great city with a temple tower reaching to the skies, a proud, eternal monument to themselves. This will weld us together, they said, and keep us from scattering all over the world. So they made great piles of hard-burned brick and collected bitumen to use as mortar. But when God came down to see the city and the tower mankind was making, he said, "Look, if they are able to accomplish all this when they have just begun to exploit their linguistic and political unity, just think of what they will do later. Nothing will be unattainable for them. Come, let us go down and give them different languages, so that they won't understand each other's words." So in that way God scattered them all over the earth, and that ended the building of the city. That is why the city was called Babel, meaning confusion, because it was there that Jehovah confused them by giving them many languages, thus widely scattering them across the face of the earth. Shem's line of descendants included Arpachshad, born 2 years after the flood, when Shem was 100 years old. After that he lived another 500 years and had many sons and daughters. When Arpachshad was 35 years old, his son Shelah was born, and after that he lived another 403 years and had many sons and daughters. Shelah was 30 years old when his son Eber was born, living 403 years after that, and had many sons and daughters. Eber was 34 years old when his son Peleg was born. He lived another 430 years afterwards, and had many sons and daughters. Peleg was 30 years old when his son Reu was born. He lived another 209 years after, and had many sons and daughters. Reu was 32 years old when Serug was born. He lived 207 years after that, with many sons and daughters. Serug was 30 years old when his son Nahor was born. He lived 200 years afterwards, with many sons and daughters. Nahor was 29 years old at the birth of his son Terah. He lived 119 years afterwards, and had sons and daughters. By the time Terah was 70 years old, he had 3 sons, Abraham, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran had a son named Lot, but Haran died young in the land where he was born, in Ur of the Chaldeans, and was survived by his father. Meanwhile Abram married his half-sister Sarai, while his brother Nahor married their orphaned niece Milcah, who was the daughter of their brother Haran, and she had a sister named Iscah. But Sarai was barren, she had no children. Then Terah took his son Abram, his grandson Lot, his son Haran's child, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, and left Ur of the Chaldeans to go to the land of Canaan. But they stopped instead at the city of Haran and settled there. And there Terah died at the age of 205. That ends today's reading. Reading a lot of names, but I just slowed it down and relaxed and enjoyed it. And I hope that you enjoyed this reading as well, and that you're very relaxed for the rest of your day and night. And thank you for joining me. God bless you.